Hey, it's Greg Grunberg, Snap Wexley, and you are listening to 6th Scale Scavengers.
Wow. Wow. That's all I got to say, guys. Welcome to 6th Scale Scavengers, episode 54. I'm your host, Bryan Fontaine, joined as always with my good friends, TC and Chris Letty. And we've got a great show for everybody today. Couple surprises. So everybody that just was tuning in live on YouTube, and if you're listening to this on the podcast, I highly recommend that you go and check out the video, and we have to give it, guys, like, just bow down, just give Scott from Parker Files all the love and the respect and everything that he is due for that, because we gave him some headshots and said, here's some things we're thinking of, and he's like, oh guys, I don't know, guys, this is kind of cool. I don't know, let me know if you have any changes. I'm just like, I teared up a little bit. My wife has been yelling at me, guys, because I've probably watched that intro like 30 times in the last day. But
I don't blame you.
My wife isn't home during the day, and so I can just blast it on the sound bar, and no one cares.
It's just like, Chris, I mean, thinking back to, episode 000 to be where we are now, to be mostly a live YouTube production like this, and to have a friend, a good friend like Scott that's now part of the team and can just help amp up the broadcast value of this is just incredible. I can't thank him enough. I'm so glad that he's part of the team, and he was on our last episode with us, and just wow.
Yeah, definitely. Production definitely went up. It's great to make improvements, and it's even better to have people be a part of the team that can help us with those improvements. And he did an amazing job, and made us look really good.
Well, TC, speaking of making us really good too, the second surprise too is we're now broadcasting in 1080p on YouTube, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for Chris, but I mean, you're the eye candy, TC, so they can see a little bit more definition there as well now. So
a little bit more clear picture in my beard.
Yeah,
you can see, I can see some of the figures on your shelf behind you now. Before it was always just a little bit of a blur. Yeah. So that just shows you we're committed to this, and it was a little extra cost to do it, but it was certainly worth it. And we do this. We're not making money off this by any means. We have fun. It's a great way to hang out with you guys, some of my closest friends, and just be there for Scavengers as well. So if you are tuning into our show for the first time, we've been a podcast. We still are a podcast, but now we have this YouTube show. We are covering 6th Scale collectibles, mostly Hot Toys, Marvel, Star Wars, DC. We do cover things like Asmus and stuff sometimes. I think we have some things in the show notes. The format of our show is typically about 90 minutes. We cover news, collection updates, which is usually really entertaining to see what we've all bought and sold. And you might have to call up Maximus from Gladiator for mine. It's epic. It's wow. I got a little crazy. The topic we're going to cover too is, guys, it's the ever-changing landscape of pre-orders and our strategies now, and some tips that we can have, because there's a lot of conflicting information out there, and I think some things that I think we could really help people out on. And then finally, we usually cover a feature figure review that we'll cover and also show photos during the stream while we do that, and talk about double wow, triple wow, however many wows this has been. Han Solo from Solo: A Star Wars Story, the standard and deluxe figure. I got mine in recently since the last show, and it's right up top of the pantheon of some of my best Star Wars figures. So that's just a little bit of a tease about how well I think that this figure turned out. And I think it's definitely a sleeper hit. Do not sleep on that figure. And we'll cover that, guys, in a little bit. All right, let's cover news like we normally do. And got a couple releases to talk about here, TC. First, I wanted to talk about, we got the release from Infinity War Star-Lord, released in Hong Kong on August 11th, 2020. We originally saw this figure back last June. And, the blogger photos looked pretty good. I'll start to call those up right now.
Yeah. So $251 at Sideshow. Like you said, Bryan, was released August 11th. So pretty recently. This is Infinity War Star-Lord. It's basically the same figure. Not the same figure, but the head sculpt's pretty much the same as the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 version. A little bit different jacket, and then those added rings where Star-Lord's kind of stepping on them as he's attacking Thanos. So you get that extra accessory. I think a lot of people that missed out on the second edition of Star-Lord are going to try and pick this one up. But then on that same note, if you've got the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 version, this is most people that I've talked to or heard are passing on this one. So pretty good release, pretty low-key release, I feel. Late Infinity War release, but overall pretty solid. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I know when this figure, right before this one was released, the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 version was going for pretty good money. And I don't know if people really thought that we would get an Infinity War version or Endgame, whichever one you want it to be. But Star-Lord, I like Star-Lord. I think it looks great. And for those that missed the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 one, this is a great pickup to fill in that lineup. And, it's got some cool accessories, some unique ones. Not enough to make me get a second Star-Lord, but, he'll probably be in stock for quite a while, or available for quite a while. So, one of those ones that, can fill out your Guardians lineup, your Infinity War lineup, whatever you want.
Yeah, I thought it was decent. There's a little bit of surprise. So, guys, where is Gamora? Why is Gamora? Gosh, where are we going to get some of these other figures? And you have to think, not to say that anything nefarious is going on, Chris, but you have to wonder if there's some sort of a likeness issue where, you and I were talking offline between the last episode, or we were talking with the admin team, the Scavengers Council. And, there's some times that, some actors don't have to give away their likenesses. And one of the figures we'll talk about next with Mark Hamill, he's never given away his likeness. And you have so many Luke Skywalker figures out there, but then you have somebody like Harrison Ford that has a death grip on his likeness. And it's probably one of the reasons why we haven't seen the Bespin Han that we have all been clamoring for. So I don't know. We don't have any inside information on this, but man, it's getting into Hulkbuster 1 territory here, like 30 months.
It's pretty nuts. It's crazy. She's pushed out till, I think it's October, December timeframe. And, I'd almost put money on it not coming out before then. It's too bad. Just, I don't know what it is. There's something about Hot Toys, and is it the screen accurate, actor license that is the problem that gets a lot of these figures hung up? Who knows? We'll touch on it here. There's a bunch more delays, and it's got to factor in. I would think it has to factor in to some degree. Final stamp of approval, actor likeness, because the rest of the figure, Hot Toys can make that. It's not a problem. It's just an enigma with Hot Toys.
Oh man. So before we start talking about the Snowspeeder pilot, Luke Skywalker, gosh, just catching up on all the comments, everybody tuning in live. Needless to say, I think that the intro went over pretty well. And one thing I didn't mention too, and all that music is all original. I don't know, Chris, have we ever told the story about like the origin of the like the intro that we've had? One day before we launched the podcast, I was messing around with GarageBand on my iPad. I have this much zero musical talent, and for some reason everybody seems to like it, and I would just rather replace the intro at some point, but I can't now. It's been 54 episodes plus a few others that it's just, you just can't do it. But I like Scott's take better. Like he kind of used it as inspiration, but like as part of like the initial countdown part, it's better. I don't mean to. It is. So.
Yeah, that's okay. You set the foundation.
Yeah.
And then Scott just built on
exactly.
It's not a problem.
Remix.
Yep. Remix. All right. So we got Mark, Toy Mafia. I saw Tank out there. Jeff T, RJ, Parker Files, Scott in the house, checking it out. Jesse, loved the excuse that you gave to say you told your wife to go out and shop so you could join the Scavengers. Robert, of course, one of my favorite Scavengers. Gear Bear out there. I think he said a comment of one of the best moments in SSS history, and hopefully it's not our best ever, but it's definitely right up there. So let's see. I saw Charles out there, Charlie, Aero Maestro, Mario, the Intergalactic Arms Dealer, Boba's Bounties because I can speak English, H Green, Christy Young, man, it's Sean out there, Red Wolf, Optical 20. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. Danny Lee, 6 Scale Economist was at the beginning. Gosh, I keep going on and on and on. But man, we certainly appreciate everybody tuning in live. And it's certainly one of the things, Chris, that we've mentioned before is where this used to be predominantly an audio podcast to see our ugly mugs here and just show some screenshots. And like you said, TC's the real star here. Luke Skywalker Snowspeeder Pilot TC. This was part of Groundhog Day, Sideshow Con 2020. We saw it. I thought we were going to have to wait a long time on this. They didn't wait too long, TC.
No, they didn't. But we will be waiting for quite a while.
A long time.
Just announced MMS 585, $265 retail price at Sideshow.com. Scheduled to release at Sideshow April to June of not 2021, but 2022.
Ugh.
So there will be some legitimate aging by human beings before this sucker is released to the population. So, yeah, a little bit disappointing in my opinion. I think the figure looks good. They did use the same head sculpt as Jedi version. It doesn't really bother me because I don't think another head sculpt's going to improve the likeness that much. I think this is pretty much as good as we're going to get for a while. But it's just that lead time that's a little bit frustrating. You can't even really look forward to it. I think it's just one of those figures you have to kind of just say, okay, not even really plan for it, just kind of put on the back burner for a year. And then once they're sitting here, 2021, August, then kind of start planning for it. But it looks good. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, the initial picks that we got, the way he was set up, he left a little bit to be desired. And then I think it was when Hot Toys did their thing, looked much better. But this release, I think it gives us another Empire figure, and that's right, Danny. It's a place to be every other Wednesday. So, I mean, I think this definitely made the Hoth Leia more desirable because finally there's a figure to pair up with her. And I just hope that we get more Empire figures. The fact that we're getting a 40th anniversary figure in 2022 for ESB is kind of hilarious. It's totally Hot Toys style. Because if they make any more Empire figures, they're going to come out in a year and a half to 2 years at this point. And I don't know, the figure for me, I love it. I ordered it. And I mean, there's not a whole lot more with this figure that I would ask for. You know, you've got a couple different options, and I love the way it looks with the helmet and everything. But you know, it's a great figure. Just, are we going to get more Empire figures to go with them?
Yeah, there's a comment from Sean Yahtzee. The Time Walker alter ego, they're already sold out. They were already sold out like the day this thing got announced with their pre-order allotment. So did BBTS.
Oh, BBTS did too, but
you
see they jacked their price up by $15 from what they know for. We always refer to the retail price based on what Sideshow does. I mean, they're the authorized retailer in North America and Europe, so they really drive the price for the most part. You can usually get it cheaper if you go to a Hong Kong seller, but it's kind of a little bit of well, we'll talk about it maybe in the collection update, but it's a little unscrupulous for a Big Bad Toy Store they do that with some of the popular figures. They'll add $15 to it. And I think people get so caught up in, I need to have this figure. And if they usually order from there, they might not even realize that, you know, they're paying maybe $15 over what Sideshow's charging. So it's just, it's unfortunate, but I mean, people didn't have any problem with buying it. So, yeah. So just my thoughts. Like, I have this shot on the screen here. Obviously it's photoshopped, and the Snowspeeder tow cable is not actually attached to the bottom of an AT-AT or an AT-AT. I call it AT-AT, but potato. This was like one of my favorite scenes as a kid. So, I mean, this was a must for me. I love the look of this. I don't get as caught up about the hair and stuff. You make a good point, TC. If you get this figure, you're displaying it with a helmet. I mean, yes, you could show him without the helmet if you wanted to kind of use some. You could technically pair this with ESB Yoda if you wanted to do a little bit of a Dagobah scene prior to, you know, him going through training and whatnot. But I just love the weathering on this. I think it blows the original Sideshow release out of the water, but it's a long wait. And I think we're going to start to get a long wait because Hot Toys has a lot of Gamora is not the only figure that they're delayed on. They have a glut of figures to get through. And I think if they did their typical year to year and a half schedule for all these, I think they're just going to continue to pile up behind it. I think they needed to give themselves, you know, some breathing room to get some of these figures out. So, and I'm looking on Facebook, Akira's son is saying that Sideshow can charge up to 20% in duties after that, and then BBTS doesn't, so it saves the $15. So I think that's one reason maybe why BBTS sold out. So, you know, we'll admit when we're wrong, which is often. We're a bunch of hacks. But man, just you're right, Chris. I think you finally have some pairings with this, and I mean, it even shows it here on Dagobah with with the head sculpt on. You're gonna display this thing with a helmet for sure. I mean, that's what I'm doing. I mean, look at the detail on the tow cable here. I mean, when he ripped it out of before Dak went splat, I think we used to have a reference to that, Chris, on the Brick City blockade back in our Star Wars podcasting days. But man, just incredible release here. This is what Hot Toys does. Some of their finest work.
It's not a bad sculpt. Like, I don't think the Return of the Jedi sculpt it's not a 9 out of 10. It is not Han Solo Deluxe from Solo. It is not on that level. But I think the hair makes the sculpt look better with the Snowspeeder look than it does the Return of the Jedi Endor look. Like, I just think the hair I don't know, it complements the sculpt a little better. I don't know what it is. But I was looking at stills from the actual movie, and it looks pretty darn good. I have to say, probably this is the best looking Luke Skywalker figure from the original trilogy, in my opinion, of any of the ones released so far.
Yeah.
All right.
Just one more thing. Like, I noticed on other groups that they're not 6 scale based, just general Star Wars or vintage. People were posting pictures of this, and a lot of people were saying that this would be their first Hot Toys because, you know,
Whoa.
Empire's so many Star Wars fans' favorite movie, and there's not, I mean, Rebel pilot Luke Skywalker is obviously one of the most iconic Star Wars images, and you know, it could be like a representation of, you know, somebody's love for Empire Strikes Back. So I thought that was interesting that I saw some, you know, a number of collectors talking about that.
No, that's a really good point, Chris. And you know, if they ever do anything Ahsoka related, I think you'll also have a lot of crossover into our humble little hobby here. All right, TC. Next up, this was a surprise, and we'll talk a little bit about this because we were actually talking with the admins recently with Scott from Parker Files, and he was actually been on the lookout for one of these drones. And there's been a couple other people in the group too. Savon and a couple others, I think, were trying to add some extra drones. I think Robert was actually one too. And you could only get this drone if you got the Spider-Man homemade suit, the Mysterio illusion part of Far From Home. So this is a good way to kind of undercut the third-party sellers, Chris, where I think Hot Toys is doing a little bit more of this. I think they're laying claim to their licenses that they own. I've kind of made my thoughts known prior about third-party figures and things. I think they have a place in people's collections. I just can't support them myself. But I mean, if you're going to get the official looking one, I mean, this is it. I mean, to me, Chris, and we'll have TC give the stats here in a moment, but this looks exactly like the one that you got with the figure. I think the base is going to prevent you from probably standing a figure on top of this, but to have this drone and the two mini ones to kind of create a depth perception on your shelf, I think a lot of people are going to go for this.
I definitely think so. I didn't see the, I know that somebody posted, it might've been Hidalgo posted the price. I didn't get a chance to look at what it was, but, yeah, I think this is a way for people to add to their dioramas and to build out a scene. I think Hot Toys, again, like you said, they're looking at the market and they're looking at ways that they can capitalize on, you know, more sales, and why not? I mean, it's this great accessory with crazy amounts of detail, and like it can be its own thing. We've seen it with different, you know, they've tried things out, you know, like a Wakanda throne. I mean, not the greatest accessory, but I think something like this, I mean, it helps build the scene. This does that as well. And, you know, giving us a couple different sizes there to build depth and all that's, you know, that sort of thing. You know, I think it's good. And if they hit the price point properly, you're going to get people buying multiples. I know Zach and Dean on Collecting Weekly were talking about, you know, should they have gone with two larger ones and one smaller one? You know, who knows, but going back to the, like, making more sales is like people are probably going to buy two complete sets. Especially when Mysterio comes out. I mean, that Far From Home display is going to be just killer.
And speaking of somebody that's going to have a Far From Home display, TC, we'll go to the stats. I kind of went a little out of order there. My apologies.
Yeah. No problem. Retails $105 at Sideshow, released, or it's going to be released Q1 2021. So yeah, so anyone that was looking for it, you don't have to buy the homemade suit Spider-Man. If you just wanted the drone and part it out, you can just go straight for the accessories. So it's really good release. And like you said, Bryan, keeps the third-party companies at bay. But I actually wish that they would have included one or two more of the little ones, because there was that scene in the movie where they're just, you could see all of them together, and there's so many of those smaller drones. I don't know. Were they smaller, or were they just further? Was it just a depth thing?
I think it was a depth thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still, I would have liked more of the smaller ones, because I'm gonna get the homemade suit version, right? And it comes with a larger drone. And then this set will come with a larger drone, but then I only have two of the littler ones. So I don't really know what to do about that, but I'll probably just end up getting one of the accessory packs and just deal with the fact that there's only 2 of the smaller ones. But I think it's a good release. Like you said, Chris, it adds depth to a display. You can build out a nice, scene in that Far From Home line. Hot Toys is giving you almost everything. I mean, the only other thing you would really want would be like an MJ figure or a Ned. I don't think there's anything else left. They've included pretty much everything.
Yeah, an MJ figure would be awesome. I mean, I think it's just, we've seen it's tough with some of the, those secondary characters and stuff, but maybe, if the Hot Toy gods,
happy.
Yeah, happy. I mean,
I'd love a happy.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have Spider-Man 3.
Well, young happy or older happy, because he looks a lot more look a bit more in shape in Iron Man 1 than he does in Spider-Man Far From Home.
You don't want the flashback happy from Iron Man 3 when he's like John Travolta.
I just remembered that. That's a good callback, Chris.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that would be great. It would be great for Hot Toys to continue to build out lines, and they may but maybe for Spider-Man 3, maybe we get an MJ figure. We could only hope. But yeah.
Here you go, TC. Talk about a scavenger helping out a scavenger here. Robert said if he gets it, he might not need the smaller ones. So
okay, nice.
There you go.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, let's talk. That would be
it's a short trip from Florida to Georgia. So the one thing, and somebody in our group, I think it may have been Hidalgo, I can't remember who it was, but if you look at the base of how this is set up, this isn't a dynamic flight stand that's here. I mean, this is strictly for show on your shelf. There's no way that this would support a Spider-Man figure on top of this drone. So if you are intending to have Spider-Man hopping around, I would not use it as this one. This is to fill out and give some, it's essentially a diorama piece. And there's some people out there that can do some fantastic work with stuff like this. So, I mean, to me, like, I'm a little conflicted about this release. I'm glad that they did, but I'm mostly glad they did because it shuts out the third party that we're trying to, do something unlicensed. And I think I'll keep my comments to myself about that. But all right, guys, those are the main releases. We have so many others, and I was out of pocket the other day when this went down, and this. So I don't know if you guys either know exactly what happened with this Mandalorian Deluxe set on Sideshow. It was kind of like the psych, like it was gone. It was waitlisted. It's back. I mean, what happened here?
Yeah, it was kind of ridiculous. I think it might have been Hidalgo posted that it was low stock remaining, and then everybody started going crazy, like, what? And when you started looking around, some of the other retailers maybe don't have, their allotments had filled up for pre-orders. So people were like, crap, this is going to be my only chance to do it. And then everybody's hitting order. And then it goes waitlisted. And within an hour or so, it was back. It was back in stock. Are back up for pre-order, and it's like, what the heck? I mean, whether there was something like whether Sideshow did that on purpose or they had a clerical error in their how much allotment they had from Hot Toys, who knows? But
I like Contra Clubs.
Yeah.
The sales reps had to meet a sales quota for that day. Saw Zach pop it in the house here. It was a conspiracy.
Oh,
You mentioned them talking about that. I haven't caught their recent episode yet, but yeah, I don't. It is what it is. So one thing too, and it kind of prompted me to kind of make our show topic this time is pre-order tips and stuff like that, because we've a couple different times in 54 episodes have covered the topic of, the fear of missing out, FOMO, or you just end up deciding one day, like I did, to change your collection around again and realizing that you can't buy a certain figure because it's not available at retail anymore. And then that our brains just are wired to say, like, what am I going to do? So I hope that people didn't get it just because they thought, I got to get one now because it's going to be super popular. That maybe they were intending to do it all along. They were just holding off and said, okay, well, I don't want to get actually waitlisted on this. Maybe somebody was saving up for it, but didn't quite order it yet. So it is what it is. I think you just have to kind of be dialed in. Usually a group like ours is pretty quick to give information, and then we'll quickly correct it if it was bad information and whatnot. I think TC just kind of having a plan, I think, is the most important thing. Whether you rip up your plan every day, as long as you have a plan, you might not get caught off guard as much when a situation like this comes up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have an opinion on it either way. I mean, it's the release is so far into the future that I doubt Sideshow's thinking, oh, let's just cut off the supply and make everyone order. I mean, it doesn't do anything. I can't imagine there being thousands of orders being placed in that span of an hour, maybe 100. I don't know what it would be, but it just may have been one of those things where they put the amount into the computer at a certain limit, and then it's such a popular figure that, that amount got filled, and they just reset the ticker, and now you can pre-order it still.
Yeah, so just final thought on it, Chris, was that it was posted in a lot of groups. I saw it in after the fact, in hindsight, I saw it on Tashi and a couple other places where either people were picking fun of the situation or not. But I mean, it was something enough that the collecting community at large noticed.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been, if it was the first Mando, and we know that it's already released in Hong Kong, and Sideshow had already, it just sold out and went waitlist. I think that would be more, realistic. But being so far out, I can't, and not being, it's a deluxe. It's not like it's a Sideshow con exclusive or anything like that. So I don't know. It was just kind of a funny thing to talk about. I mean, I had mine. I already have mine. I had locked in my order back in March. So I wasn't too worried, but I don't know. Some people might have been like, maybe I need to order a second one or something, but.
Well, let's talk about some delayed figures, guys. And TC, Chris, I'll read through the list, and you guys chime in with maybe pick out a few of these the comments on. We mentioned Gamora. She got pushed back again. Team Suit Tony from Avengers Endgame. Iron Man Mark 85, the non-battle damaged one. The 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader, the reissue and the new packaging. Stealth Suit Spidey. Venom Pool. I haven't talked to one person that was getting Venom Pool, by the way. The new version of Iron Spider from the PS4 PlayStation game. And non-Marvel, Star Wars, Hot Toys, but Hellboy and Alita. I know, Chris, I'll lead it off and kick it to you. I know our buddy Raul was pretty bummed that Hellboy was getting delayed. And he knows that we're not going to get Hellboy, you or I. He is, and he has offered, once COVID clears here, that he will bring it to one of our houses, and he wants it to be reviewed on this program so that there's a Hellboy review out on YouTube somewhere.
It'll happen. I'll have to watch the movie before we do that. And it does stink because, he is such a fan of that character, and the fact that Hot Toys was making a figure for that movie and it was not successful at all, not well reviewed, and then he's like I was one of like 3 people that pre-ordered this thing, no wonder it got delayed. So I'm sure there's more people out there, but
yeah, and he said too, Hellboy is like really either is or was really popular in South America when he was growing up. So there's a worldwide audience there, at least in part of the world, that would have been looking out for this figure. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, I just think the one that really sticks out to me is the 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back Vader. I'm just confused why that one, is getting pushed back. You'd think that a reissue with just different packaging would potentially come out, fairly quickly, but I guess not.
Yeah. I mean, I could see the Mark 85 being delayed. Makes some sense. Team Suit Tony, I'm not sure that figure's really that popular. Gamora, par for the course. And, yeah. I mean, the ones like Alita, Hellboy, and Venompool, it makes you question why they even made the figure in the first place. But maybe maybe this is something, I don't know. Maybe they are popular. But to me, it makes sense that they're delayed.
Yeah.
So, Chris, 140th anniversary figure that is getting released soon is Boba Fett.
Oh yeah, he's coming soon. I got an email from Sideshow. Gosh, I forget the date, but yeah, it's coming within the next week or so, and said to get your bank account ready for that payment, and hopefully have it by next show. We'll see, but I can't wait for that figure. He's going to go in a nice Boba Fett display someday. And reviews look great. It's just got that classic Kenner aesthetic. And I think that's going to be a popular one.
Yeah, rumor right now, guys, is that we'll get the Iron Man Mark 47. There's kind of J-Lab and a couple of the other ones. What's up, Chief? And I think he's pretty active on Twitter. I know I try to retweet anytime we're tagged in anything, but yeah, that's the rumor right now, is we might see, actually probably before we get done actually going live here, we'll probably see the Mark 47 blogger photos out there.
Probably.
So, yeah, and then our good friend Six Scale Economist is obviously looking at this from a business perspective of, Hot Toys maybe needs to invest more in their people and being able to put products out. I think, but that being said, I mean, we are dealing with a worldwide crisis right now. I mean, we've mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. We are lucky enough to sit here, the three of us, and everybody listening to this, watching this, either live or after the fact, to kind of have this as an escapism. I mean, we're certainly lucky to have that. So, I'll give them a little bit of slack now for sure. But once things clear and they're still having issues, then maybe there's a different conversation to be had there.
I mean, they produce a lot of stuff. It's just they promise a lot of things, even at a higher degree. And I think it's catching up to them in the landscape. So I don't know if it's them needing to push out product faster, because they do. They just need to maybe chill on the new releases and then be able to catch up.
Yeah, and it seems like they've been, I mean, usually the summer months this is kind of like our third summer of doing this show. It usually does seem there's a little bit of a lull, and they'll start to pick back up in the fall again. So, I think I think we're not going to see too much figures to talk about every episode. I think speaks enough. I mean, there's very rare that there's an episode where we don't have any news whatsoever. So I'm just looking. I saw Lotus dropping some knowledge here. So TC, shooting over to you. Some of our smaller retailer friends, like Underground Figures, Ray over there, Steven at Steven's Collectibles in Texas, look like they're getting some highly sought after figures.
Yeah, I think Steven got a partial shipment of the Mud Trooper. I think, like you said, Ray got the Remnant Trooper. So yeah, some of the retailers, I think Time Walker has sent out the Mud Trooper. There's a lot of shipment of them. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten notice for mine from Steven, but I think one of our other co-hosts might have gotten notification that his Mud Trooper's on the way. So A lot of the wholesalers are getting at least a partial shipment in. I know some of the overseas retailers also are getting more than Mud Troopers in, so it's starting to trickle out. And I'm guessing that, I guess that production run is supply runs coming to an end soon as these smaller places do get their shipment.
So, Chris, I guess I wasn't terribly alarmed, but I think there was a late push on a lot of wholesalers to people are clamoring for seeing if they could get extra figures. And I just hope there wasn't a situation created where they may not be able to fulfill some of them. To be honest, I was excited that Steven reached out to me and said, because I had pre-ordered mine back at the beginning of February, really before all the hype set in. I was listening to the advice of our good friend Roy, I know you're listening to this on your way back from your European holiday, and I'm super jealous of all of the photos you've been sharing of all the mountains that you've been looking at. But he's been singing the praises of the Mud Trooper long before it was released, called it the next Shore Trooper. He was right on the money with that. So I'd ordered it long ago, but when Steven said, I was excited on one hand to finally get mine soon, but the fact that he said he only got a partial shipment in so far, I'm not going to sound the alarm bells for anybody else, but I guess maybe some people might have to be set up for a little disappointment, and that's really unfortunate. So I'm hoping that they're just sending them out in waves, and maybe based on when the wholesalers put in their orders with Sideshow. Talking to Ray with Underground Figures before, his website is predicated on what's available on the Sideshow website. So once they can see it there, so I would imagine once they put in an order, it goes right through. So Sideshow knows to hold them aside. So it just might be a situation where they're going to be sending them out in waves now that they've gone through the Sideshow stock of the orders that people ordered from there.
Yeah, that's really rare for that to happen. I know it happened one time with the Yondu at Big Bad Toy Store where some people didn't get their Yondu figure because they didn't have stock. I guess they overpromised what they could deliver. But usually Hot Toys is pretty good about that. I don't hear stories where they can't fulfill orders, especially right after release. Sideshow's pretty good about that too, so I wouldn't expect that. But I mean, it's definitely a possibility when you talk about a figure that's already at waitlist, that is already really in high demand, and you never know.
Give a shout out to Marco, first time joining in live. Welcome aboard, my friend. You're amongst friends here with Scavengers. So I saw a Dork Lair sighting a little bit ago. Love seeing Bill Janowski out there, and give a quick plug for Dork Lair, another excellent podcast out there focused on collecting. Chris, I'm going to shoot this over to you because I'm going to give you the Justin Timberlake disapproving look. But, you're the one with going down this Asmus route, but there's a little bit of updates that they made from the Aragon figure. And actually talking to Raul before kicking it over to you, like this is actually something that they'll do, is that they'll put out maybe like a prototype that's maybe 80% of their best effort. Then they want feedback, and then they'll make some adjustments and stuff.
Yeah, it's a much different business model with Asmus. Smaller company, but they've got the Lord of the Rings license, and they've put out a lot of figures for this line. And during their showcase, they showed the Aragorn Battle of Helm's Deep, and the face sculpt got some criticism. It was not the greatest, and they went back to the drawing board and they started, they came up with a new sculpt, and I think the new sculpt looks a lot better. They're probably going to continue to improve on that, which is great. So it's great to see a company like this. It's great to see them kind of take the feedback and then go back to the drawing board and rework and improve. And I think with every figure that Asmus puts out for Lord of the Rings, they're continuing to improve the final product. And we've seen the progression with those figures. And, and then because they sold so many, they hit their goal for sales, they have added a couple of new accessories, like Optical 20 was talking about. I think it's a torch to go with the diorama base set, and then I think it's an Urukai helmet or an orc helmet. It looks pretty cool. Just some neat things that they didn't, they didn't have to put in there, but it's just like a thank you for reaching a certain goal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that helmet from the dude, the orc that dives into the gate with the torch and blows it up.
Yep.
So decent.
Absolutely. And again, just going back to the fact that they're willing to do something like that, I think that helps with a lot of collectors, getting collectors excited about, their product line and hey, maybe they'll add something, or I don't know. I just like that kind of thing that they're doing.
Also, it's like their sculpts. Look, it's still not an amazing head sculpt. It's good. It's not Hot Toys level, but when you include the diorama pieces and then the added accessories and the good tailoring, it does make the Aragorn figure as a package, pretty enticing for a Lord of the Rings fan, in my opinion. So,
wow, guys, that was a lot of news to cover. Lots of news to cover. So let's do a collection update. And I'm going to go last just because, like I said, it's silly stupid. Like, I'm looking at the list here and I'm like, I got a little out of control.
Well, you did nothing the last 2 podcasts, so this makes up for it.
So you average it and it's still ridiculous. All right, Chris, let's start with you, my friend.
Oh, man. Yeah, I teased it earlier that I did pre-order the Snowspeeder Luke, and I ordered that from Ray at Underground Figures. And I know everybody was like thinking that I got a ton of stuff. I mean, I did have a pile of Hot Toys, that I took a picture of. But I did get a couple other ones in. Endgame Black Widow showed up. Far From Home, Homemade Suit Spidey from Sideshow. And Sean, you are under on that one. But anyway, yeah, that's all I've got. I'm trying to do some major sales with non 6-scale stuff. I've got a massive pile of graded comics that I've got to sell for a friend. So I've got to replenish.
You can see them right behind you there.
I know. They're right behind me.
Now in HD.
Exactly. Yeah. So to replenish the collecting funds, and that's pretty much where I'm at. TC, what about you?
All right. So most people know of my transition in my collection, centered more towards Iron Man, centered more towards MCU Spider-Man. And then Star Wars is going to be there. It's just not going to be 50-50 anymore. So I am getting rid of some stuff, and I sold, or I'm in the process of selling, K2SO. It's a bit of a shocker, but I've had it for a good while now, well over a year, and I got it for a really good price. So I just put it on eBay for 99 cents and let it go. So we'll see how that one ends. I'm doing the same with Jyn Erso. Again, I got that one for really cheap, and the market's really high on that one right now. And I sold Bryan, my Iron Spider. I know I just said I'm having an MCU Spider-Man focus, but that one, it's not part of the, obviously, Far From Home or Homecoming, so I'll let it go. I sold my Battling Cat from Dan Lee to Sean Yahtzee, passed it along at the same price that I got it for. And the War Machine Mark IV, which was Bryan's, I sold it. We traded Tarkin for the War Machine, and now I'm just selling the War Machine. So I'm continuing to thin out my collection. It got to a point where I didn't have tons of space to display it right now, but it was also the direction I was going. I didn't like where I was going. I wanted to be a little bit more focused, and I like where it's going now. So it gives me something to target with future releases, but that also allow me to kind of space out future purchases. But having said that, I did pick up a few figures to kind of really push that Iron Man project forward. And I did own 2 Mark 50s. I now own 5 Mark 50s.
Whoa.
So I got the accessory set. I talked about this a long time ago when Infinity War released. I never pulled the trigger on this, but I wanted to get the accessories and kind of have one shelf displayed for Infinity War, and that's really going to be probably my Infinity War display, just the Iron Man Mark 50. So I'll get rid of some of the other figures that I also have and transition that straight to Iron Man. I got the special edition accessory set, so it has the battle damaged face mask, and you can kind of see on the shelf there, you got Iron Man in his like the thruster kind of rocket that he uses to get out, escape Earth's atmosphere on the left, and then I've got the dagger right next to him, and then in the middle, Mark 50 with Tony Stark's head sculpt, and then to the right of that one, the battle damaged face mask and the sword, and then to the right of that one, I've got the chicken feet with those hammer forearm kind of things that he used to hit Thanos with. So heavy on the Iron Man. That's kind of how it's going to probably be in the future, and I'll limit. That's 50 Mark 50s. Yeah, I think I need to stop with 5, but they're still out there in retail. I know. They were overproduced. They gave a second run because Hong Kong was, crying out for another run of Iron Man Mark 50s, and they expanded the run to the United States, and they've been sitting out for now over a year, well over a year, probably like a year and a half, close to 2, and you can still get them. But I think they're starting to dry up a little bit, so I figured if I'm going to do that kind of project, now's the time. And, yeah. And also I got Han Solo Deluxe.
Definitely not an afterthought. I mean, incredible.
It is not. It is an incredible figure, and we'll talk more about that. And like Bryan said, if you're on the fence, this is one that is a Star Wars. This is an elite Star Wars figure. So
top 5, top 10. Oh, no, maybe not top 5. Definitely top 10 in my collection. And I've got about 35 Star Wars figures. Yeah, it's incredible. Argument. Okay, well, TC, you stole a little bit of my thunder, but I did some unboxings in our private collecting group. I haven't done that in a while. I unboxed the Solo figure. I unboxed Leia and Wicket. I got both of those in recently. One from one from Underground Figures, the other from Stevens Collectibles. And then surprise unboxing was Captain Marvel. And people that have been longtime viewers and listeners of this show know at one point I had the deluxe on pre-order and the standard on pre-order, and I was going to have a display of both. And Parker Files YouTube review was really getting tempted by then. I actually asked Chris, because he got his in recently. I said, all right, Chris, level with me. Just like, I know you're going to give it to me honest. Like, what do you think? You even sent me a little video from your iPhone on like what the suit material was. And like, so I was like, after that, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. So there's a story, and Aero Maestro said something in the comments a little bit ago about what TC's doing. And we all have different little things that we do, but he said, that's the beauty of the collecting journey. It shows us what we really want and enjoy more. So it's perfectly okay to change up your collection. I think it's actually healthy to buy and sell things, because then you're not just hoarding and you're kind of curating a collection of what you want it to look like. So my inflection point was we recently as a family started watching through the Marvel movies, and we haven't gotten too far. We're only through Incredible Hulk at this point. But a couple Sundays ago, we were watching Iron Man 1. And my 8-year-old son was watching it with me. And just to see him get so excited about certain parts, that I just realized I made a very big mistake to really just level my collection of anything Marvel. So I wanted to start to find out ways of rectifying that, and not going back and doing crazy things like chasing older figures and stuff, but just seeing what's available now at retail, what's still to come out. And then maybe kind of have a little bit more of a minier focus. But then as I start to go through this list of figures, I think you'll kind of catch my drift of what I'm looking to do. So to make this happen, I had a Jean Grey premium format statue on pre-order with Sideshow. And I already have the Phoenix and Dark Phoenix one. I didn't necessarily think I needed a third Jean Grey. So I canceled the pre-order on that, and it freed up a ton of money in my budget. And then for some reason, recently I'd gone through and gotten a whole bunch of Kotobukiya statues. So if anybody follows my eBay store, you can see I've been selling and sold a good chunk of those. So I basically replenished the budget quite a bit before I went ahead and did some of this unplanned stuff. So I mentioned the Leia and Wicket from Underground Figures. I got the Solo standard figure in from Steven Collectibles. I just paid my invoice for the Mud Trooper yesterday, so that should be coming in soon. I did get my Captain Marvel from Underground Figures, and I also recently just ordered the Hawkeye Deluxe. I do not have that in quite yet. I've mentioned before, guys, I really wanted to try to avoid canceling any pre-orders with any of these smaller retailers at any cost, but I just didn't see two of these Star Wars figures fitting into my collection. The Scout Trooper from The Mandalorian, I already had the Biker Scout on order, and then I just didn't need a second Kylo Ren in my collection, the one from Rise of Skywalker. I have the one from The Last Jedi. So I decided I emailed Ray. I did it begrudgingly. I said, Ray, I really apologize, but I don't think that these are going to fit for me anymore. But then I said, but there's a big but in that email. I said, all right, I want to add this, and this. So I went ahead and in the same email pre-ordered Captain Marvel Endgame, the Mark 47, the Mark 85 Battle Damage, Thor Endgame, and then finally the cream de la crop, the Snowspeeder Luke Skywalker. So that's a lot. I went ahead and I originally had the Hulk from Endgame on pre-order with Big Bad Toy Store, and I canceled that. I'd already paid the NRD, but they have a pretty cool policy that if you decide to change your mind, they'll reinstate an offer, an order if it's still available for pre-order, and they'll honor your original NRD. So I'm in the process of reinstating that. TC mentioned I repurchased my War Machine Mark IV that I originally had traded him for Tarkin, and Iron Spider from the Beto Hobby Shop. So thank you, my friend. And still going, a couple more here. I had a whole bunch of coupons and rewards with Sideshow. I decided I'm going to have the Trinity from the MCU in Infinity War and Endgame. And I decided to get back a Mark L, not one of the ones that TC got, but getting that far under retail. And then also the Infinity War Thor. I had those previously in my collection, but had sold them. My Mark L had broken, the arm popped off, and my Thor I had parted out. So I'm getting back full figures. Okay, and then this was just yesterday. I decided to finish out the rest of my Endgame. I decided I had to hunt around for a Black Widow. I checked a bunch of different places. Finally checked Steven at Steven's Collectibles. He's got an extra coming in that he's set aside for me. And then Endgame Rocket. Nobody had it. I checked with Steven. I checked with Ray. I could have waited at Sideshow, but actually Time Walker Toys, I was able to get one through them for under retail. And that was a lot. So my plan is to have an entire Module shelf of kind of a transition of kind of some of the older MCU figures I still have for Cap, do an Infinity War to kind of Endgame. But really the purpose of doing it is just making sure I had the original 6 kind of in their last iteration of Endgame. I mean, it made me realize how much that those movies had meant to me. And I know Scott has mentioned that previously too. So all funded with the budget and just selling a crap ton of stuff. I made the habit, though, I was not going to sell any Star Wars figures. So that is probably one of the most epic mic drop collection updates that I can possibly ever give. And Chris has been giving me all the look. I keep reading from my list here. I keep looking at Chris, and he's making all the facial expressions down there.
Yeah. That's it's funny because in the past you have had epic collection updates, but I mean, we're always like, I don't think I'm going to have another one like this. I mean, this tops all of them, I think. And it's pretty awesome to see you coming back to the Marvel or trying to balance things out a little bit more. And the guilt from the child it definitely, I couldn't sell a lot of these figures that the girls love, and for your son to be like, what, why are you selling those? Where did they go? And now,
so, and there may be one more. I'm kind of, TC and I have been kind of talking about one other one in particular, the one I've gotten the most grief. I think I've mentioned on some podcasts before too, kind of letting my Thanos go. So, I just don't know if it's going to fit, but I think TC, if you probably ever do end up pulling the trigger, you know that I'll probably be your first phone call or text or whatever.
It's just funny because, like, obviously your son Ben and your daughters Chris, they're not gonna want a Tarkin figure or a Krennic.
No,
they want the Mad Titan in the collection.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They want Iron Man. They want Spider-Man. They don't want these old geezers.
No. I mean, my daughters saw that I had the Rocket and Captain Marvel, and they're just like, oh, they love those characters and stuff, and Groot and all that. So, I mean, they like the Star Wars, some of the, Princess Leia's and Wicket and stuff like that. But yeah, 6 scale economists. I mean,
it was an AA meeting.
Definitely an AA meeting.
Yeah. Sean was saying 15 figures. He had the wrong person. So, but yeah, the important thing too is kind of still, as crazy as it sounds, that was all within the budget, and just, either canceling things or selling. We talked about it before too. Use your collection to fund other things. And, I think it's all within, it's all within the plan. Didn't cause me any stress to do a lot of it. It just conveniently all kind of came together. I'd been sitting on a war chest of a bunch of things that I had sold with my last purge that I've kind of just have been working from. So it just was finally like, okay, time to spend the house money. And ironically enough, selling the Marvel to get back the Marvel. So, and then Sean's giving me grief. It's saying I need that Infinity War Thanos. So, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, kind of crazy. But it just, again, it sounds crazy. And anybody that's tuning in for the first time, this is not it does happen about every 3 months or so, but then I usually will rein it back in and kind of make changes and stuff. I think you'll find a bunch of our prior episodes on the importance of budgeting and tracking expenses and collecting stuff like that.
You're on the Hulk, though, in your rewatch. You haven't even seen Iron Man 2. Iron Man 3. You're in trouble.
My rule. So I do. Yeah, Roy doesn't like me to have rules, but my one rule is like it has to be available at retail. I can't go back for anything. So I just like scavenging deals, coupons and finding deals and stuff. It's been a little fun too to kind of go back through and do that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Before we go ahead, I was looking back at old purchases, and I spent premium on good amount of my figures, but one of my best purchases was I had some rewards and I used it for the Mark IV diecast figure. I got it for like $260. So it's scavenging is good.
Oh yeah, you have to be able to do that, and it's one of the reasons. And we'll talk about that kind of with our topic right now. We're now an hour in, just finally getting to our topic and our review. I think we'll still kind of finish around the 90-minute mark, but. And this is just more of a free-form conversation. We don't necessarily have anything planned per se here, but just to share a little bit about what our strategies are to provide some pre-order tips, because I've seen, guys, a lot of conflicting things. People saying, well, why do I need to pre-order anything anymore? I'll just get it from Hong Kong, or I'll pre-order it once it's available. The blogger photos go out and stuff like that. As many of us as we try to predict what's going to be popular and not, you can sometimes either hear chatter, or if you're looking at it more from the finance point of view, like 6 Scale Economist does, we're often wrong. Our batting average is probably about a baseball player, we'd be lucky to be hitting 300. And if you're right 1 out of 3 times, you're usually in the Hall of Fame. Our batting record's a lot lower than that. So you have to give yourself the opportunity to be wrong quite a bit. And, one of the things you can do about that is having that vision, like, TCU had said. And I think you still have to, guys, I still think you have to have some level of a pre-order plan. to make sure you're securing these things. We've talked about it a bunch of different times since the Mud Troopers come out. The amount of scrambling that people have done on that figure that just decided, I'll just get it when it drops, and how popular it was. It's Yondu, Shore Trooper, all those ones that people just kind of slept on. It came out and people were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And Hot Toys just didn't make a lot of it because there wasn't a demand up front.
Yeah, I mean, it varies by franchise. I think when there was the time where we weren't pre-ordering anything was when, the three of us and the two of you were at your Marvel, I guess, peak. And at the time, Hot Toys was making a lot of different Marvel figures and very extensive runs where you didn't need to. And there was so much variety, there's so much hype that they were just continuing to print the figures. And that's not like it for Star Wars. Obviously everyone knows that in Hong Kong it's not that popular. They just don't make as many of them. Yet stateside there's that demand. So like when a Luke Skywalker Snowspeeder drops, you can go early to Alter Ego, Time Walker, Steven, Ray, BBTS, get it through them. The advantages are maybe no tax, no NRD. You get to support the local shops. But if you don't do that, then you're stuck at having to pre-order it at Sideshow or go through a Hong Kong seller, and your options become limited. So there is the advantage of pre-ordering, even if a figure's far in advance. I don't like to pre-order figures that far in advance, anything over a year. I don't like to do it. I just don't feel the need because it's just so far out. You never know what you're going to be doing a year and a half from now. You just never know. So I don't do that. But I see the allure. I see the benefit of doing so. You can save money and you can get your figures locked in. So things have changed over the last couple of years with how I look at it.
Even a couple months.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Things have definitely changed. I mean, like we've done before in the past, we're all about the Dopo, day one pre-order. And then we kind of shifted back. Yeah, Lotus, we need a new shirt design here. Yeah, need a pre-order plan. Yeah, I've gone through different things. I pre-ordered stuff, like I used to have a ton of pre-orders with Sideshow, and it was just pre-ordering everything, every figure I thought was cool. And it's like, I don't have a direction. So I cut the fat big time, especially when I decided to start doing Star Wars. So I really needed to shift gears as far as my pre-ordering goes. And, I have a vision as far as how I want to display my stuff. And, I've sold off most of the figures that don't quite fit into that display. Do things change as far as like what that plan is? I mean, yes, because until I have a display space behind me to put this stuff, it's always going to be changing. But as far as the pre-orders go, I definitely was all Sideshow, not pre-ordering anything from anywhere else. Then I started pre-ordering from BBTS. Let's see, 60 Economist. Let's see.
Yeah, so he's saying that he's talked to a wholesale rep recently, and there's a maximum allotment that they get, which, makes a little sense if you track some of these smaller websites and stuff. So, that helps, I think, a little bit with the distribution. Which, sorry, Chris, I was just going to say too, you're probably going to say the same thing I was too. If you want to save a little bit of money, I know Jason's joining us for one of the first times tonight saying, did he get bad info? He just says, I've always ordered from Sideshow. Am I doing it wrong? Well, you're not. You can get it earlier than everybody else. The one thing that's a little bit differently about that is, the shipping costs are maybe a little bit higher, but then you also get a really good return policy. If you want to save a little bit of money, you have to wait a little bit longer to go for the smaller ones. But to save the little bit of money, you have to kind of make those decisions earlier and you have to lock in. That's where I think people will talk about having really good relationships with their local comic shops. I think it's behooves you to have we mentioned personally, just because we shop there and we spend our hard-earned money there, Underground Figures, Stevens Collectibles. The amount of the excellent customer service that they have and are super responsive about getting back with questions or paying invoices or anything else like that. You save a little bit of money to do that. You just have to wait a little bit more. So for me, if I can save, a little bit of money on each figure over the course of a year or two, well, that may be one more figure that I might be able to add to my collection. And if that's the case, Chris, then that's why I'm more apt to make a quicker decision with a smaller retailer than maybe the approach that, TC said. I completely agree. It behooves you to maybe not necessarily lock yourself in something that's 2 years out if you don't even know you're going to like that said figure 2 years from then.
Yeah, like just going back on what you were saying. So yeah, Jason, nothing wrong with Sideshow. Most people get their figures from Sideshow. They sell the most figures via retail. They don't do it via wholesale. But the thing is, if you take a $235 figure and you get it at Sideshow, they charge tax everywhere. Just add $20. Their shipping's $25 or $25. So you're looking at about $275. You get it at a smaller shop, you're looking at $235. So there are perks, but like Bryan said, you got to wait. And oftentimes, Sideshow will meet their retail orders first before they send anything out to wholesalers. So it's a trade-off. But the reward is every 6 figures you buy, or 5 figures, you can get a 6th one for free, should you not order through Sideshow. Basically.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I still have pre-orders. I still have a decent amount of pre-orders through Sideshow, because sometimes they have exclusive versions, and they might have an accessory that you might want, and you can only get it through Sideshow. And
or Toy Fair exclusive,
Toy Fair exclusive, whatever, some of those con exclusives. Plus, they do these promo codes. They do Spooktacular. They do all these different events throughout the year to give you basically free money, free rewards, and then you get rewards on the back end. It takes 40 days once you receive your figure for that reward to kick in, but you can pile them up and use them towards, you could buy a figure outright. A few months back, I think I got Leia Bestman for like $9 or $19 or something like that. So it's how you play the game. That's why I have a little bit at Sideshow. So I'm always using some of the rewards and codes and that sort of thing. And then I've got majority of the rest of my pre-orders with Underground Figures, and I've still got a few at BBTS. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit everywhere, and and then if you really want your figures early, you can go straight to Hong Kong resellers, Toys Wonderland, Tim Cent,
Toys Tim Cent, Toys Buying Agent,
yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either.
So, a lot of our listeners too are outside the United States. Even Scott, our own Scott, a part of the team now, is in Canada. There's a bunch of Canadians in our group, and actually for them, it's actually the cheapest to go through one of the Hong Kong sellers, because then they'll mark it as, it avoids, whether it's a good business practice or not, they usually don't get hit with customs or anything. And usually the shipping is usually free. And if you pre-order in advance, like the first batch and second batch stuff, you have the one bad thing about this is you can pay a deposit. Sometimes, depending on how many they've sold, the deposit, it's like a tiered approach. Like the deposits get more expensive the more that they've sold. But you have to usually commit more up front with a Hong Kong seller than you would for a smaller deposit with something else.
And a lot of times, if you do want the first batch, you got to put at least 50% down or 100. It just depends how many they have each slot. I'm not putting down 100% on a figure when it's not slated to release until 2022. I'm just not doing it. I know Tim Cent, awesome seller, but that's one person. You don't know what can happen to the seller in 2 years. But still, it's a great option for the people that live outside the states. They are very reliable. I'm not saying anything bad about them. They're very reliable. They're great sellers, both of them, Toys Wonderland and Toys Buying Agent. So that's another option. I've ordered many figures through Tim Cent and also figures through Toys Wonderland, and they have great customer service. So definitely keep your options open.
Yeah, I'll close out our conversation here. Again, like most of our topics, we'll come back to this again at some point. But our website, sixscalescavengers.com, if you go into the databases and look for any of these individual figures, we've already done all the work to give you some of the links to some of the other options that will be out there. And depending on how long the figure's been out, maybe you'll find that some of the smaller places, they have already sold through their allotments, like Six Scale Economist had said a little bit ago. So, but you can also kind of shop around too. And sometimes you're going to find somebody like an Underground Figures that you can get a really good deal most of the time. So again, just kind of crazy, but more to come. So, use other scavengers, use other collecting groups, use our website, and, give yourself some options to be successful. Just like the name of our podcast and our show indicates, scavenge for good deals. Don't pay more than you need to. The more that you can get at retail or below, you can get more figures. So it's just and
definitely go on Sideshow's website and look. I think there's a listing of retailers that are Sideshow exclusive retailers, and maybe there's one near you, and maybe you can strike up a relationship with them. There's a series of there's so many retailers that are Sideshow distributors that it might be the way to go. Some really jack up the prices, and the figures sit forever, and then some, like ones we've mentioned, are great with their pricing, and they make up that difference from Sideshow's price and everything. And I just think there's people have options for sure. Definitely check them all out.
All right, guys, let's switch over again. Great, a lot of great knowledge sharing going on in the chat as well, not just from what we were talking about. So there's no right answer to this approach. Do what works for you and whatnot. So before we go over to the feature figure review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our buddy Mike. He's on the mend from today, and sending some good thoughts your way, my friend. It just made me think of him because his local comic shop is 3 hours away. I know him and his wife made that trek recently so that he could pick up his Leia and Wicket figure, and I believe quarter scale Vader. So I mean, I 3 hours one way. That's a big time commitment. But he showed photos of the shop, and it's pretty darn impressive, for sure.
That's the type of stuff we're willing to do for a deal.
All right, let's close out. I don't want to shortchange this figure at all because this is just awesome. I think a lot of people slept on this Han Solo figure, guys, and the movie didn't do maybe as well as everybody had thought. I think the movie's becoming more beloved as time goes on. Time heals all wounds. Just ask the prequels. And I'm just going to lead it off, guys. And I'll go through the stats here real quickly, but this is one of their Hot Toys' best Star Wars figures I think they've done. If you look at the whole combination of head sculpt, tailoring, presence, movie accuracy, I don't know what it is. I mean, this is a slam dunk home run to me.
Yeah, it's very good. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of times with Star Wars figures, the characters are so beloved, like collectors are willing to look past a pretty big fault, like Luke Skywalker. Like none of the young Luke sculpts are amazing. Leia, her sculpts are solid, but she often looks out into no man's land. But But this one is like the opposite. This is like brilliant. The sculpt of I think he's how to pronounce his name, Alden Ehrenreich.
You got it, TC.
Okay, all right, good. Sculpt's amazing. It's elite. Paintwork is great, and the body they use, it must be a new body that they haven't used before, or I don't know what they did, because like the silhouette of the figure is like near perfect. There's nothing. It doesn't have like Cap syndrome where the shoulders are too broad or it's too chunky. It's like really slender, but he looks built at the same time. I don't know. I'm looking at it right now, and it's a really good figure, like you said, Bryan, and the tailoring is top notch too. It's so funny they put so much effort into this figure that seemingly has no demand internationally.
Yeah, it took 23 months to come out. 22, 23. So I'll give the stats. So we're going to look at this was a standard and a deluxe figure. MMS 491 for the standard, MMS 492 for the deluxe. Standard retail price at Sideshow was $220. The deluxe was $243. The deluxe comes with basically his Vandor outfit. Chris, I think I said that right? The original release the announcement of this was May 24th, 2018, coincided with the movie release Solo in that year. We got this April 29th, 2020. The original Hot Toys estimate was Q2, Q3, 2019, and we just recently got this figure through Sideshow, and local comic shop, wholesalers and stuff have been getting this figure recently.
It's crazy. I mean, this figure came out got released for pre-order when Bryan and I had had only started talking about 6-scale Scavengers and like what it could be and that sort of thing. And like we talked about the premiere for Solo, and we did an event, and it's crazy that it took this long. You know, we didn't know what the movie was going to be like. We didn't know what the reception was going to be like at that time. And we were like speculating, like how many figures could they come out with from this movie and that sort of thing. But you know, this figure, I don't have it in hand yet because it's from BBTS. I have not gotten word when I'm going to get it. But I love this figure. I'm a huge fan of this movie. It's one of the movies that I love just putting on and watch, rewatching. And it is sad that we're not going to get, it doesn't look like we'll get more figures to fill out the Solo lineup. But if this and the few others that we did get and have coming, I mean, this figure just looks phenomenal. The tailoring, the stitching with his undershirt, the jacket, and then the overcoat with the deluxe, all the accessories, the belt. I mean, I just think this figure nails it out of the park on pretty much every level.
Yeah, I mean, so everyone says Mando looks like man in a suit. This is a man in a jacket. I mean, it's amazing. The sculpt also was an improvement over the prototype. I don't know if people remember, but this is not the prototype's head sculpt. It's a little bit fuller. It's not as skinny as what was shown originally. So one of the few times they made improvements off the prototype head sculpt. So I mean, there's that too. And I don't know. It's hard to find a negative, other than small nitpicks here and there. And it's hard pressed for me to believe that the Mud Trooper could actually, just from a figure perspective, actually be better. And to me, this is awesome. But we'll see.
Yeah, so the jacket has surprisingly a lot of give to it. It's like a kind of like a suede material. It's got a lot of give. You can certainly do a lot of these poses without any issue with him holding his blaster up. I think the thing that impresses me the most about one of these figures is the boots. They finally got Star Wars boots right. And this even has some nice weathering on it too. I mean, I really have no nitpicks about this figure whatsoever. I did just get the standard just because I didn't really want to go for this look with the jacket and the goggles and stuff. I love that part of the movie. It's one of my son's favorite parts too, because it has a train in it. But I mean, do not, like I told our buddy Mark, I said, do not wait on this thing. I think once this thing sells out, it's going to be hard to get at retail. I don't know where the limit is on this one in particular. I think the Mud Trooper one is always going to be the one that'll be a little tougher to get. But don't spend, in some time, like over, like, don't see yourself spending like over $100 on this thing over retail just because you waited on it. I mean, it is that good. I mean, I haven't I haven't heaped like as much praise as I have on a figure like this in like quite a long time. Like, no faults. Like I said, it's right there near the top of my collection, especially in Star Wars. He does look great right now next to the Patrol Trooper. It'll be great to have the Mud Trooper on the way here at some point. We'll also be getting Solo, the Solo version of Darth Maul, DX-18. Doesn't necessarily go with these other three figures all that much, but it's nice to still get some figures from a movie that you hit it right on the head, Chris. I think this is the perfect movie if you're just chilling out on a Saturday afternoon and you want to watch some Star Wars and you don't want to have to commit to watching the whole trilogy. You pop this on, you pop in Rogue One. I mean, it's just fun. Now, there are some criticisms that Alden isn't Harrison Ford. He kind of took his own take on it, but if you can just let those things go, I mean, it's just a fun movie, and I think it's great to be able to own a figure from the movie. And we're seeing in the comments here, the TFA Chewie with some of the photos on this is just looking extra horrid.
Yeah, not the greatest release with that figure, which it's too bad. If we got a Chewie from this movie, it would have been great. There was one teased that year, I think at San Diego Comic-Con. Never saw it. Will we ever see another Chewie? Who knows? Hopefully it's an improvement. But yeah, I mean, I jumped on the wait list for the deluxe one on Sideshow just for the heck of it. Just to, give myself another shot. And if, it doesn't cost anything to jump on a wait list. So I know some people's converted already, which is cool. But yeah, I can't wait to have this figure. And yeah, I can only dream of Akira, a Lando, a Rio would be pretty sweet in 6 scale, but yeah, that's wishful thinking.
All right. So Chris, you'll have to abstain from, giving an official score, but I've kind of been hinting at what mine would be. So Chris, so you don't have it in hand. Maybe we'll let you kind of quickly pick what we rate this on. Our fun little rating scale that we use here.
It's got to be Sabak cards.
Sabak cards.
Yeah.
All right, TC, how many Sabak cards out of 5 is Han Solo?
There will be 5 Sabak cards. This is a great figure. I know a lot of people are saying Mando figure of the year, but there's some potential issues with that figure that are just not present on this figure. Like, there's just nothing. I guess the one thing you could say, and I'm not sure about how it was in the movie, is the belt may not be weathered enough. But as far as the tailoring goes, head sculpt, articulation, accessories, the Han Solo gun, the boots, like you said, Bryan, it's just an awesome figure, and I would not sleep on it. There's nothing bad. I mean, the if you get the deluxe, I haven't tried putting on that fur coat, and that might be a little bit difficult. But it's hard. I'm hard pressed to find another figure that's been an actual better release in 2020. I don't know about how you feel, Bryan, but to me, this is right at the very top.
Yeah,
few figures.
Yeah, it's 5 Sabak cards for me as well. 5 out of 5. It doesn't mean it's the perfect figure, but on our fun little rating scale, and we're a bunch of hacks, it's no qualms about this figure. There's so many different things that I'm actually excited for some future releases and stuff coming up about, like you said, TC, about some of the body that they used underneath, the way that they were able to do the boots and the weathering. I mean, Krennic was also a really good figure earlier this year that I have in my collection. And not every figure that Hot Toys puts out is always a home run, but I think we've already said it a bunch of different times. Don't sleep on this one at all. You will regret it. If you're a Star Wars fan, let's preface it that. But most everybody is at least a Star Wars fan, even if you don't collect it. And if you stick to Marvel, we welcome all different types of collectors here at this show. Wow, what a show, guy! I'm still like I said, I've watched our intro and outro video like so many different times. Like that completely, I feel like is a game changer for us. The fact that the higher quality video that we now have is, I've seen a couple people already make comments. So, this is just our way to get back. Like I said, we're not making any money off this, and there's a lot of people that this means a lot to them. And because it means a lot to everybody, it means a lot to us. And we have fun doing this. It's fun to chat with the both of you. We continue the conversation almost daily. I'm sure Scott's regretting joining our little motley crew, but he's been an awesome addition. And like I said, glad to hear Mike's on the rebound from today. And just a fun show, guys. It's fun to be able to do this every 2 weeks and look forward to the next one already.
Yeah, thankfully we didn't have like 6 releases or whatever we predicted, but we did have a lot of news, and we do hope that more figures get released. Is it Mark 47? Is it Qui-Gon? We'll see. Or it could be something totally random.
All right, guys, we'll do the plugs, and we have a new outro video too. So stick around for that, and past Chris's normal Excelsior, and you'll see that cool little thing. So our plugs, we mentioned it during the show. Our website, sixscalescavengers.com. We have the hot toy databases for Marvel, Star Wars, and DC Comics. We have our TeePublic store, Six Scale Scavengers. You'll actually see the link in the outro video for that. We've got our Facebook page, Six Scale Scavengers, on Instagram and Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and sixscalescavengers.libsyn.com. If you want to grab that RSS feed and throw it into your podcast catcher of choice, make sure you also subscribe to Parker Files on YouTube. Scott does an awesome job with those. He's got some other videos dropping soon. The official Marvel Hot Toys video reviewer of Six Scale Scavengers. So, guys, TC, Chris, any final thoughts?
No, great show. Really enjoyed it, and look forward to the next one, like you said, Bryan.
Yeah, it was a great one. It felt awesome to roll out the new intro, and definitely check out the outro. And guys, remember to just subscribe. Hit the bell, do all that fun stuff, like our video, comment. All that fun YouTube stuff. But we appreciate everybody chiming in. Great chat. We love you guys. It's been, a great show.
For sure. All right, Chris, bring us home, my friend.
Excelsior.